Hello everybody, welcome to the ÉISG podcast, an Interns Survival Guide, where we teach you how to survive in Paris and during an internship at an indie festival. We have new hosts every week with different topics each time, ranging from music, fashion, tourism, but above all, independent cinema. We hope you like today's episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next edition of ÉISG's Intern Survival Guide. Warning, this podcast occasionally contains strong language which may be unsuitable for children, unusual humor which may be unsuitable for adults, and lots of LGBTQ+ jokes which may be unsuitable for assholes.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome to myself as well. This is my first podcast.
This is my first podcast too.
So, Marta, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Bridgerton, and I'm so excited because I watched it last week and I'm obsessed with it.
I literally watched it in like 4 days. The most recent extra season.
Yes, it's
I
perfect.
was obsessed.
Yes. So, before talking about Queen Charlotte specifically, actually, we're gonna talk about Bridgerton in general and the context, I guess, and
We probably need to put like what's the word? Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Before this video because there will be spoilers.
We'll talk about everything. So, what's Bridgerton about?
What is Bridgerton about? It's a period piece set in the olden days, covering the lives of these aristocrats,
Wealthy families.
particularly the Bridgerton family,
Yes,
which is why
iconic.
the name of the show is Bridgerton. But there's a lot of like mixing of stories, right?
Yes.
It's a very big cast, but the point is the lives of the characters
A lot of stories
crossover.
coming together. Yes.
And we've got 2 like official seasons of Bridgerton and then Queen Charlotte. So what do we have to say about this show?
So many things. Bridgerton, I feel like it's very different from other shows. I personally am not into like shows that are like period dramas or like set in certain ages.
That's funny because I actually love period dramas.
Yeah. For example, I love Pride and Prejudice. That's like classic.
That's a classic, yeah.
Yes. But Bridgerton did something to me. Changed kind of my perception of all of that. Now I can't get enough. So,
Well, what's special about Bridgerton out of all period pieces is, well, obviously it's set in the olden days, but it's got a lot of modern twists to it, right?
Yes.
It's not your classic period piece that focuses on it being kind of realistic to what it was like.
yes.
Really, for example, like the music is
Yes.
all like modern songs, but that are played with, you know, old-fashioned orchestras.
Yes.
And you know, I find it kind of fun when you've got like a ball scene and they're playing
Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus.
yeah, or like some Ariana Grande, and
I know,
you
it's
kind
so
of
fun.
recognize it and you're like, oh, where do I know that tune from? It's kind of,
so fun.
I don't know, it's like a small detail. You could argue that it doesn't really matter, but I feel like it does matter. It sort of adds an extra twist to the whole thing.
Yes. Also the fact that the cast is mixed, obviously, which is just like amazing. The TV show doesn't really like explain why. I'm not sure how they just do it in a way that it's like, for the audience, we don't really like question it. We just like vibe with it.
Yeah, somehow it's done so for like seasons 1 and 2. It's done so like smoothly. It's made to look so kind of natural that you don't even question it.
Yes.
You sort of, it doesn't feel weird, even though of course that kind of situation at the time in real life, you know, you didn't have any black people or mixed race people involved. So I don't know how they managed to achieve that kind of. Speaking about that mixed cast, like thing, that aspect of it, is of course the most recent like extra Queen Charlotte thing, show, season. Kind of explains where that comes from, right? It gives some context to it with the great experiment of this, you know, woman of color who is marrying this white man as the king and queen of the country. That's kind of, it gives us the context for this quite like striking aspect of the previous seasons, but that we never really, well, personally I never questioned it, but maybe that would be an interesting thing. Maybe some people did question it.
Yeah,
That would be an interesting...
And they get an answer, but it's not like a super fundamental, like, thing of the show. You know, it's briefly mentioned, and it's enough, honestly.
Yeah, it's treated as just, oh yeah, this is just one aspect of the show, this is one detail. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of good, because that's the point, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
I'm a big fan of I think she's the writer and the creator of Queen Charlotte. She's Shonda Rhimes, and she is the creator of a lot of shows that I love, like Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and she's just like the best of the best. And she has like this common thing in each of her shows, which is like the mixed cast and how it's so like it's real life. Obviously, it's just like how things are. And so she does just a great job here in Queen Charlotte and the Bridgerton series, and it's just great. The cast, all of her casts, they're just like the best. I love the actors.
Whoever the casting director is,
oh my gosh,
is doing a great job.
Amazing, amazing. Like Queen Charlotte, the actress from like Bridgerton, and the actress of Queen Charlotte, like the younger version of her, they're just like, they could be family. They're so like exact.
Got the same energy.
I know.
Which, of course, is important. If they're meant to be playing the same character, then it makes sense. But there's a lot of shows that don't put in as much, like, care into those kinds of details. Whereas they're actually kind of important. I guess it kind of makes... Well, I don't know if it makes sense, but I guess it kind of makes sense that this is one of Shonda's sort of trademarks, because she herself is a black woman working in the film industry. And...
Yes, and it's so amazing just to see her, because like all of her shows are just like hits. They're so successful. Everybody loves them and are just obsessed with them. I watched Scandal. Every single person was just like on it, just obsessed. Can't get enough. And it's just like amazing to see so many TV shows made that are so equally like successful and talked about and so like popular and well liked by so many people, and it's just great.
I mean, I find as a young woman myself who's aspiring to kind of work in the film industry, I find it very very inspiring. I mean, in some ways I have that little bit more privilege than Shonda does due to the colour of my skin, but still, as we know, women have a long way to go, and I just find it very empowering to see women like her creating, as you say, these hits. This is not just like, oh, that's a very cool show, that's nice. It's like worldwide, kind of everybody knows about it, everybody's talking about it. That's a huge deal.
It is.
It's all about representation. Like, you know, people sort of say that representation is really important for kids and young people, and I think it really is. It really does make a difference. It's like, you know, it's a little bit off topic, but it's like the new Little Mermaid film that's come out.
I was thinking about
black actress, and you know, it's sort of, in a way, it seems like such a small thing, but actually, when you think about it, there are so few like non-white Disney princesses.
Yeah.
You know, you've got like the Princess and the Frog, and then I guess Moana's not white. You've got Pocahontas.
Yeah.
You've got like a few examples, but they're in the minority. And so it's quite nice that they've taken what was a white Disney princess and made her into something else. And that's really important for, you know, little girls out there.
Yes.
To see someone who looks a bit more like them, because then how are they supposed to like put themselves in those positions, imagine themselves in those positions in the future if there's nobody that sounds like them, looks like them, acts like them.
It's so nice to see. She's just an inspiration for all of us, I think, Shonda. Yeah. We love her. Big fans of Shonda right here. We have to talk about the plots, the characters, because it's a lot.
Definitely. There's so many characters.
There's so many.
Talk about.
I know.
What is your, like... Well, I don't know. What's a more difficult question? What was your favourite season, or what was your favourite character?
So for me, and I wanted to talk about this, it was a different Bridgerton experience, because I just got into this world. You know, I'm a fresh Bridgerton fan because
it's not been years.
It's been a week, but I'm a big fan now, and the reason why my experience is different is because the first thing that I've seen is the Queen Charlotte TV show, and obviously fell in love with it. And so I decided to watch Queen Charlotte first, and then season 2 of Bridgerton. And I guess I'm gonna have to watch season 1, obviously, because
You've just done it completely backwards.
I know, I know, and it was nice. It was just different.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of nice to have things like the Queen Charlotte season, which is sort of like an extra. It's like a little bonus package on top of the general like series itself. Because as you say, it is something that you can watch independently from having watched the rest of the series.
Yes.
So in a way, that's quite nice to do things like that, even like a few years down the line, like they've done, to grab the attention of anybody who might have missed the boat, like the first time around type of thing. It's also, I found it was a very different experience, like watching, because I watched it like in order. I started with season 1
in the normal order,
and then I did the Queen Charlotte series, and it's, you know, season 1 and 2, there's this whole kind of like background story of Lady Whistledown and all the mystery surrounding that, whereas like in the Queen Charlotte show, it's, I mean, Lady Whistledown, she you hear her voice a couple of times, but she's sort of irrelevant in a way in that particular one.
True.
And so it's interesting to see those different takes on it as well, because you can really tell that with Bridgerton, well, I mean, it's based on a series of books, right? So it is about a whole creation of a whole world. It's not just telling a story, it's creating a whole like world that they're talking about. I don't know what my favorite season was.
It's hard.
I want to say maybe season 2.
It's too good.
Season 2 was very hot.
Very, very hot. Every single person in the show is just gorgeous and so hot. And the main characters of season 2 are just like unbelievably beautiful. It's almost like hard to look at them because it's just like, this is unacceptable. Like, you shouldn't be this hot.
Then there's the rest of us.
And then there's like, you know, and we live in the real world and it's not as fun and as exciting. So it's just like unbearable.
Who's your favorite character?
Gosh, I don't know.
That's a much more difficult question in a way.
I love Queen Charlotte. I think she's like awesome. She, you know, she's like she has this presence and this aura around her that is just so, I don't know, I'm not sure. Because also, I like Anthony.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I'm
obsessed with him. But I don't know, I think he's like a charming character.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of the nature of his character, is to be charming, and then the actor embodies that entirely.
100%.
I don't know like who my favorite character is. I don't know how to choose, but I guess maybe a character that I'm interested in, and more specifically like interested in for the future, is Eloise, the sister who is like not interested in getting married. You know, she wants an education, she wants to get out be her own woman. Lady Whistledown, who's writing all of this stuff, is kind of one of her idols in a way. I find her interesting because so far, obviously in the story she's still quite young, and so she has been presented as someone who has these aspirations, but she is quite young in a way. These aspirations are a little, the word I'm going to use is not quite right, but a little bit childish. The way she sees it is a bit kind of like dreamlandy. And what I'd be interested to see is, I don't know, season 3 or even if there was a season 4, would be to see Eloise's story and watch her grow up and have those aspirations, obviously keep them, but watch those aspirations grow into more adult aspirations. I think that would be a really interesting third season.
She's a great character. I like her. I love the fact that she's best friends with Lady Whistledown and she has no clue.
And she has no idea.
And yeah, you said it so well. I don't know what else to say.
I guess that's kind of cool as well, that she is friends with Lady Whistledown. The point is, it's someone who is like her, who is able to achieve these great things. Again, it's an inspiring thing to see. You're never too young. You're never too this, too that. Not enough this, not enough that. You've just got to do it.
Period. I wanted to say something else. Oh, I love how in Bridgerton you see like a lot of scenes portraying like female friendship.
Yeah.
and how important it is, no matter
Definitely.
at what age. Because, for example, in Queen Charlotte,
Yeah, Queen Charlotte, yep.
right, you see like the older versions of the characters just talking to themselves about like, you know, that's what we're here for. Like, we're friends and we have this friendship. You have to tell me these things and you can feel safe around me and you can, you know, and I love to see that. And it's not so common, I think, or it hasn't been that common to see like those like friendships in like those ages specifically.
Yeah, you see plenty of films and TV shows that portray friendships, but it's always about young people.
Yes.
It's never about older people and older women.
Yeah.
Specifically, you see more friendships between older men.
Yes.
In films, I feel like that's a sort of thing that we're sort of working towards in the film industry, I guess, is not erasing the stories of women who are over the age of 40.
I know.
You know, because they're a sort of forgotten category.
And it's so interesting. Like, I love watching and hearing older women just talk about things and just like.
And I feel like in most shows, if they do appear, they're either this sort of big bad boss or a mother.
Yeah, they don't have anything else to
options.
Yeah.
And even then, people will be more inclined to make a show about a sort of 28-year-old big bad boss rather than a 48-year-old big bad boss.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting as well, as you say, that in Queen Charlotte we really see that.
And we see them talking about like topics that I guess we're not used to see like older women talk about, like sexual desires that they have, or life after, you know, their husband's dying, or like what's up for them at that point.
In a way, it feels a little bit like a rebirth, right? Because well, particularly for what's her name?
Lady Danbury.
Lady Danbury, that's the one. She, you know, was kind of married off to this guy that she'd been promised to when she was a child.
Oh yeah.
Who was way older than her, that she didn't really love. And yet she had her whole own little like adventure that happened after that. And now as an older woman, she's able to understand like what was actually what she wanted and her desires, and what was stuff that was sort of put onto her.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess, the normal wisdom that you get with time, but I just feel like that's not usually shown in a lot of things.
Right.
In Bridgerton and the Queen Charlotte series specifically, it's
very good.
Demonstrated.
Yeah, I loved seeing them just like talking and just like being friends.
Yeah.
And we're not used to seeing that, and I think it's very refreshing.
Definitely.
So I think these shows just have like a great way of showing stuff in a refreshing, like stuff that we've never seen before in a period drama. It's just like all these things mixed up that you wouldn't expect to work out, and it works out so well, you know? So
definitely.
Big fan of that.
Another theme.
Yes.
In Bridgerton, in all the series, I feel, is the kind of enemies to lovers progression.
We need to talk about this.
What do we feel about this theme?
I eat it up. It's so good. It's just like, I don't know why we love it so much.
I guess part of it is for the dramatics, right?
Of course.
For the enjoyment of the...
We love the dramatics.
Of the audience, the dramatics. But I guess it's also a representation of what relationships are actually like. I feel like in a lot of films, TV, but I mean also books and like any kind of form of entertainment that you can think of.
Yeah.
Love is often presented as this magical, perfect thing that you achieve and then that's it. But actually, if you're in a relationship with someone, that takes work. You have to work at it every single day.
For sure.
Because people change and life changes. And so to make it work, you've got to go through those ups and downs. And again, that's another thing that Bridgerton like shows is the working at it aspect.
Yes. And it's also like very different people connecting, you know, because they're different from each other in a lot of ways, like personality, background, I guess.
Well, in some cases, kind of.
Yeah. So for example, with Anthony and Kate, Kate has this backstory of her going back to India and having to take care of her sister, and now she's like, all she wants is just for her sister to be happy and married, and Anthony's just like this guy, this Bridgerton boy,
Exactly.
Just like trying to find the perfect woman. And that's all he obsesses about. It's like finding the perfect woman, reads books, is intelligent, but also fun, but also attractive, and also all these things. Kate, she is just like this very strong, confident, she knows what she wants, and she doesn't give a shit about what other people think. She's just focused on her sister, and it's just like this whole thing, and it's so different, but it works, and they connect.
And I guess Anthony's got his own demons and his own problems as well. He's the eldest son. He has to follow in his father's footsteps. That's a lot of pressure.
Yes, definitely.
And that's shown as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like, because, although it's a pretty, it's a fairly kind of feminist production in general, and it's very kind of woman-based, but the men's stories are also told. I like that as well. That's important. We can't move forward if we... it's like, oh, you erased us, so we'll erase you. That doesn't work. You're
True.
In the same position. So I like that as well, that they cover the stories of everyone.
Yeah, especially because that affects the way they see people and the way they fall in love and the way they feel things. Because the B scene, that's a very...
The B scene is it's a wild scene.
It's crazy.
But actually, in a weird way, very little happens in that scene.
But
it's
everything
all
happens.
It's all about the tension, the waiting, what might happen, what does this mean, kind of thing.
And we know, as the audience, why he reacts the way he reacts.
Yeah.
And we sympathize. But Kate's like, it's just a bee.
Yeah, like,
and she's like,
get a grip.
What? Yes. But we want her to understand so badly, and we just want her to hug him in that moment. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what do we feel? Because there's this enemies to lovers theme that kind of exists in all three series. I guess in series 1 it's a little different, but it kind of exists in all three. And yet the format for the Queen Charlotte special is different, because of course, series 1, there's this sort of whole lead up to the wedding that kind of happens halfway through, and then it's about working that out and the desire to have children and all of this stuff. And then obviously season 2 is all about the lead up to that, sort of actually people admitting who they're actually in love with. Whereas the Queen Charlotte special, the wedding happens episode 1.
I know.
Straight away. That's the opposite.
Yeah.
From the other two. And yet we still have this enemies to lovers thing. So how does that how does that work?
Unexpected, honestly, for me at least. I didn't have any Bridgerton knowledge, like I said, before watching Queen Charlotte, but it was a roller coaster, right? Because it was okay, this is gonna be great. They meet before the wedding, it's instant chemistry, instant connection, such a great scene, such a good scene.
You're almost sat there watching, thinking, what's going to be the point of this show if in episode 1 everything's fine?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the end of the episode is just him just being weird. And she's just like, what? What's happening? Are we supposed to be together? And then from that point on, it's just confusion. And it's just her just being alone every single day. And him just being looking at the stars. And no one knows why. And then it's full enemies to lovers, because it's just they have to be together, and they're trying to have a baby, and it's angry and hot at the same time, because you see them making out, mad at each other, and it's just I love this. I wish they could figure things out, but I'm loving this so far. And then you keep finding things out, and it's just it's so intense.
It is very intense. But I guess it's another way of looking, it's another whole side of what society was like in those days, where people did get married to people that they'd never met before.
I know, wild.
It was and still to this day in so many places around the world that's still done.
Yeah.
And it seems kind of crazy to us who have grown up in 21st century Western Europe, but it's still a thing, and navigating that and making it work is kind of interesting. I also like, and I guess this is something that we see in other seasons as well. You kind of reminded me of it talking about season 2, which is the whole thing about communication. That's a big thing that Bridgerton plays off of. Like, part of the problem in the Queen Charlotte thing is that they haven't communicated to each other. She doesn't know that he's ill and worried about that, and he doesn't know how much she wants to know him and see him and whatever.
And help him.
And in season 2, you've got a similar kind of thing where, you know, Anthony doesn't understand all the responsibilities and the weight that weigh on Kate's shoulders towards her family, towards her younger sister and all of this stuff. And she also doesn't understand all the weight and responsibility that weighs on his shoulders as the eldest brother, etc., taking on after his father. And again, it's this miscommunication thing that comes back.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of interesting because I think it happens in real life.
Of course.
I think people fail to communicate to each other all the time.
Yes. And it's so frustrating.
It's the source of a lot of our problems. Like, I think if people were better at talking to each other,
absolutely,
we would have less issues in the world.
Yeah. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite love confession? Because they're pretty good.
I think probably the season 2
Me too.
Kate and
It's
Anthony.
too good.
I think season 2 is my favorite, to be honest.
Me too.
Like,
honestly,
I mean, the others are great,
yes,
but I think season 2 just takes the cake. I think
it's just too good. The things they say to each other every time they're together, it's just like, what? How did you come up with this? And it's like, you know, it's like, I can't stand you, but then it's like, that's why I can't live without you, or something like that, you know, like the pain of my existence, whatever, and it's just like, ugh. And the object of all of my desires, it's like, holy shit.
I think what I like about it is, like, they're saying all this stuff, like they sort of hate each other, but it's just so obvious that the opposite is true.
I know.
And you're sat there like, guys, just open your eyes, like, can't you see what's happening here?
I know. And the tension they have between them is just like, God, like, I'm like grabbing my seat, like, Jesus, it's crazy. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want that much drama in any relationships of my own in my life, but I like watching it.
I would love to experience, like, that sort of... Wait, let me explain this. Because I was like, I'm losing track of what I'm saying because I keep thinking about Anthony. I'm sorry. But, like, wouldn't it be fun to just, like, live in that period for, like, a day? Just, like...
Maybe, yeah. I just feel like it'd be a lot of drama for me in my, like, actual life.
Too intense.
But watching it,
of course.
Great watch, great entertainment.
Have you read the books?
No.
Me neither.
No, I didn't really know about the books until the show came out. I feel like that's probably the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact. You don't have to include this in the podcast.
Bonus episode.
But fun fact. Violet, the Bridgerton mum.
Yes.
She went to school with my dad.
We are so gonna include that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and well, she's doing great because she's been in all 3 series. She's quite an important character.
Yeah.
And, you know, presumably this is excellent for her. Excellent work. But, yeah, it's just a fun little fact. So if ever the conversation of Bridgerton comes up at home,
I would bring that up the entire, like, in every conversation of my life. Like, did you know?
And then my dad's like, oh, you know, Ruth seems to be doing great.
Absolutely. He's so right.
I don't think they really knew each other. I think they were maybe even in different years at school, but
it's fun to say.
They were at the same establishment.
We love to hear it. I think we haven't talked about the Queen Charlotte actors enough.
Yeah.
But they are so good and they're so young. And I think it's like for the guy, Corey, that's the actor's name. I've searched him on TikTok. Doesn't matter why. But it's like his first real acting job. And he is amazing.
I was going to say, I didn't recognize him when he came up in this show. I didn't feel like I'd seen him in anything else. Yeah. No, he's really good. And the actress for the young Queen Charlotte is also amazing.
Unbelievable. She's gorgeous and so talented. And I think she's like 21 years old, which makes me...
like my age.
She's our age, and we're here.
And what are we doing? We're making little podcasts.
That's another podcast episode.
How to become Queen Charlotte.
Yes.
That could be a thing.
It could be a thing. We'll figure it out.
I found it kind of interesting to see like how it flips back and forth between her when she's young and when she's the older queen with her own children, and she's so tough on her own children.
Oh yeah,
when we see her when she's young, we see her when she was super vulnerable and she herself didn't know what the hell she was doing and didn't, was kind of, in love but also worried about the situation and all of this stuff. True. You see her in a much more vulnerable position. When you see her older, she seems so sort of tough and like gruff, and she knows what's what, and there's a certain way of doing things. And I find that kind of interesting to see that that's the same person.
I know.
But her experience kind of changed her with time.
She's the queen now. What else can she do? I have a favorite quote.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember it. Hold on. Oh yes. So this is a joke. We might not include this. But George's mother, at one point, she says, "I can't remember names. I am female." And that resonated with me a lot. Because I too, as a female, cannot remember names.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard for me.
I'd sound pretty good at remembering names.
Really?
Yeah. I think it just depends on the people. I know. I'm entering in on your joke.
Thank you. I didn't know how that was gonna land, but I'm just gonna stop talking now.
Yeah. I think maybe though, as a female, I just think I'm good at remembering names, but I'm not actually good at remembering names.
That could be another episode.
Who knows? Maybe I'm just delusional. Hysterical.
Oh.
My favorite quote is, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's something along the lines of when Queen Charlotte goes into sleep with the king for the first time, and then she kind of looks down at her nightdress and she's like, "Oh, there's a lot of buttons. This was maybe not the smartest decision." And then he goes, "I'm very good with buttons."
Stop, because I had to pause that and like stand up from my bed and just like walk around my room like what? That was too good.
That's a pretty like straight to the point line.
Very much so. I was thinking about like the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires. I think he has another line in another scene that just crushed me like that. That was like, wow, I wish someone could say that to me. It's like, I just want that, That's all we can say, I think.
I think that's all we've got.
Yes. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And that you watch Queen Charlotte, because it's really good.
Yeah.
And
if we haven't like given too many spoilers, or maybe go and watch it and then come back and watch this.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. That's great. So thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.